So, who are your all-time top five Raptors? My friend Justin asked me to do this, so this one's for you, buddy. This is episode 3 of the Royal City Hoops podcast. I'm Billy, the B Train, and we're gonna get into who my top five Raptors are, not who the top five are, because this is totally subjective, and I'm kind of gonna bend the rules a bit. I'm not gonna rank them 1 to 5. I'm kind of going to do a starting five or just five guys, not necessarily my starting five. But although, and nowadays with what Mike D'Antoni's doing, you don't really need positions. You can just roll out a bunch of guys. So I'm going to do five guys, and I'm going to do a sixth man. So this is going to be pretty simple. These are mine. You can do yours. Do whatever you want with it. Now, I'm going to start with my former favorite Raptor of all time, Alvin Williams. He goes on my list. I just loved how he played. I loved how he competed. I loved that in the big moments, they were never too big for him. He always was on the money. He always delivered. He was always competing. He never shied away. Sure, when you're playing with Vince, he's the guy who people would want to shoot the last shot. I wanted him to shoot it because I just thought he had the cojones for it. So he's my sentimental pick, we'll say. I couldn't leave him off the list. It won't be long before he won't be on my list, because when you have a franchise like the Raptors that's only been around, 25 years, it's pretty easy to make an all-time top five list. So these will all be guys that, I'm 44 years old. I watched all of them play. So my next pick is pretty easy. It's Vince Carter. If you look at all the all-time lists, these guys are going to be all over the all-time lists. Again, when you only have 25 years of a franchise, it's not hard to be the all-time scorer or all-time rebounder or whatever. So Vince is top five in most categories. I think assists is maybe, there's two that he's not in top five. I know assists is one of them. But, yeah, Vince Carter, no-brainer. Kind of put the franchise on the map. Just an iconic player. I'm hoping that he retires a Raptor. They're going to retire his number. He's a Hall of Fame player. Hopefully he goes into the Hall of Fame wearing the Raptors jersey. It would be nice as a symbolic gesture that, some of the old school franchises will sign a guy to a one-day contract and he can retire a Raptor. That would be nice, but in today's day and age, I don't know if you'd even want that. Who knows? It's kind of gimmicky. It's kind of lame. But then again, so am I. So that would be nice. Number 3 is going to be Chris Bosh. He's number 1 in rebounding, number 1 in blocks, number 2 in scoring. Bosh is, to me, symbolic of that next step the Raptors took as a franchise. They had Vince, who was a signature player, but Bosh was sort of a building block, at least in my mind, of when the franchise went from kind of being, they're okay, they're a flash in the pan, to being, hey, we're serious about winning. And, they tried to build teams. It's hard to build teams. It's hard to get guys to come to Toronto. But the fact that he was here that long, and yes, he did move on to form the Heatles and win chips with Miami. But again, as a Raptor, he's pretty pivotal, and I'm going to put him on my list pretty quickly. My assistant captain is going to be DeMar DeRozan. Now that the Raptors, on the way to winning a championship, he was a big part of that. And without him, they don't have anything to trade for Kawhi. He's all-time scorer. He's like Vince. He's in the top 5 of a lot of categories: assists, steals. I think he's in rebounds, points for sure. He's not in threes. I think he's like 13th or something. And they won a lot of games with him. And while he has his flaws as a player, and maybe he's not great via analytics, he gave it all, and I have a ton of respect for him and the way he did things and the kind of player he is and the kind of person he is. And the role model he was as a Raptor. If you think of the growth of him from the moment he showed up from USC to where he is now, it's amazing. And he put in all that work. I'm not trying to say the Raptors developed him. He did that. the kind of person he is, what he did. That's what makes it amazing. So he's on there pretty easily. Now, here's where it's going to get controversial, shall we say. People are going to be like, what? How could you not have the other guy? I'm going to put Kyle Lowry as my captain because he embodies what the Raptors are about to me. Hardworking, just wants winning. And he was around when they weren't that great, and he worked his way up. He wasn't always number 7 for the Raptors. He was number 3. I mean, that's how long ago. He was competing for minutes with Jose Calderon, who, has had a pretty good NBA career. He's not like an all-world player, but, I mean, the guy's really good, and he was competing with him, and they got rid of him to give Lowry the minutes. Now, has it been a bumpy ride? Maybe a little bit. Is he a little contentious from what you hear in the media? Yeah. But he's genuine, and he's hardworking. And another guy like Alvin Williams, another Villanova Wildcat who was not afraid of the moment, is not. He wants it. Is he going to deliver or not? Don't care. But he can live with not making the shot. And that's a big difference when it comes to guys who want to win and be the guy who takes the shot, or take the shot, not be the guy, but aren't afraid to take your shot, is that they can live with missing. They get over it. A lot of the guys who say, yeah, I want the ball when the game is on the line, they don't really want to be the guy when it misses. They can't, wipe the slate clean, go at it the next day, and miss another. So, all the work he put in, he's all-time leader in assists, all-time leader in steals, all-time leader in threes. He's up there in points. He's up there in rebounds. He's, here's a side note that's funny. Andrea Bargnani is number 5 all-time in points. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm going to say that's not great. Nonetheless, Kyle Lowry, he's my captain. Where does Kawhi Leonard fit? I'm really sorry he's not on my list. Not putting him on my list. Yes, he took us to a chip. Us, I say us, like I was on the team. He took the Raptors to the title. The Raptors are my team. I'm a former rehabilitated Detroit Pistons bad boys fan that because of living in Canada, they are our only team, and I don't live that far from Toronto. So essentially, I'm a Raptors fan. Now, Kawhi was here for a year. Yes. Huge impact. Yes, he took them to a championship. But we're talking all-time. I'll put him in another category. You remember back in the day, the Final Four changed the Final Four MVP to the Final Four MOP? Well, he can be the Raptors' most outstanding player ever. I'm okay with that. But I'm not putting him on my all-time list because he was here for 1 year. It just, to me, it smacks of disrespecting guys who put in all the work and built the foundation. And he came in like a mercenary, which is fine. Everybody, hey, I'm all for it. I like winning. But I'm just not putting him on my list. That's my prerogative. You can put him on your list. All the power to you. Now, to round it out, my 6th man is going to be Pascal Siakam. He is currently my all-time favorite Raptor. And I just love everything about him. The minute I saw him, you could tell he was super raw, but he had a feel for the game. And it was plays like where he'd drive to the basket and he would dish to a guy for a layup. He wasn't really great at scoring, shooting, big motor, but he could make a play for somebody else. And to me, that showed feel for the game. And that's what a lot of the great players had. And I thought if he could put all of that together with the skill package, there was potential there. And, I mean, I'm not saying this, I predicted it, like I'm patting myself on the back. But you're seeing that he does have a feel for the game. He's just figuring it out. I don't think the game has slowed down for him yet. And that's what all the greats talk about. They talk about when the game slows down. He goes so fast and so hard. In my mind, if the Raptors are able to keep him long term, he ends up at the top of this list. The guy single-handed, he was a one-man fast break. I don't know how many times in the last 2 years the Raptors would get a rebound and then they'd throw an outlet like down the court, and the camera, he wasn't even in the frame. That's how fast he changed ends. From the minute the rebound came out to the minute he was at the other end. It was like a blink of an eye. And the other team wasn't paying attention. They just didn't realize, like, oh my God, he's not even in the screen. You know, it was video game like almost. So he's my sixth man. So that's my top 5 all time with a sixth man and a most outstanding player. I guess that's a little bending the rules, but it's my podcast. I'll do whatever I want. Speaking of podcasts, we are now listed on Apple Podcast. So given that if you're watching this on YouTube, you've probably figured out that I have a face for radio. So you should probably want to listen to me instead. So we're also on Spotify. I have not paid for the subscription to Buzzsprout, which is what I'm using, so I cannot get listed on Google Podcast. So you can find it there. The last thing I'm going to mention, I'm going to take a second. So my first podcast was the Mount Rushmore. The Mount Rushmore. Who's on your NBA Mount Rushmore? Now, a day later, one of the Instagram basketball pages or accounts, Ball Don't Stop, posted their Mount Rushmore. Now, because deep down, you know, I'm a hater by nature, and haters are gonna hate. I was kind of like, hey, they're stealing my stuff. But then really quickly I realized, like, no. They posted their list. I asked people, what's your Mount Rushmore? And they did it. And the whole point of this podcast isn't for me to talk about getting attention. It's just to talk hoops. And they did it. And if you don't follow Ball Don't Stop on Instagram, it's worth checking out because it's pretty impressive in that they churn out massive amounts of content all the time, every day. And I forget the guy's name. He's talking hoops all the time. And it's always, he kind of like lights a fire there. It's a little, not controversial, but like, you could argue, he makes arguments. He uses the term pure hooper a lot, which kind of gets annoying. He calls people casuals who aren't hardcore basketball fans, but it's a strategy. I mean, if you look at the engagement at the bottom of his posts, it's nuts. So anyhow, they posted their Mount Rushmore. Check it out. Check out their page because it's just hoops all the time. And post your top 5. Or post something on this list. Or don't. Or just talk about it with your friends. That's all I got for now. So like if you like, comment if you got something to say, and subscribe at your own risk. Thanks for listening.